You just got asked by your manager to stay longer than 8 hours and get some more work done. But meanwhile, he's not willing to pay you. Heck, they even bring out the big guns. Look, everybody else is doing it. Why aren't you? Or my favorite, are you not part of the team? So what do you do? Well, let's find out. Just really quick before we actually hop in, if you weren't aware yet, we launched our website TOAnimate.ca. So if you're interested in an upcoming extensive Blender animation course that's aimed at beginner to intermediate level animators, providing you with everything you could possibly need to make a demo reel, you can head over to our site, sign up for a monthly newsletter where we share monthly progress updates on the course, as well as monthly animation tip infographics. So go ahead and sign up and be the first to access the early bird prices once the course actually comes out. All right, let's hop back into the video. So you're in this situation where your boss has asked you to stay overtime, but isn't willing to pay you. Now, there's a few options that you have, but I want you to know, no is an option. You can say no, and you don't have to give details, you don't have to give an explanation, but if they are persistent and if they are trying to guilt you into doing unpaid overtime, that's where it could get a little fun. So managers will have a few weapons in their arsenal. They could try and guilt you. They put themselves on the high ground, not like in a fight, but in the moral high ground, they'll try that. Or they can try and threaten you in some way. Well, I want you to know that none of that actually matters because what they're asking you is actually illegal and they know it. What you need to do is change the conversation, change the question from why you don't want to do unpaid OT to why are they asking you to do unpaid OT. That way they're on the defensive and they're no longer in control of the narrative of the conversation. But you do have to keep in mind, at the end of the day, they are superior and you have to speak to them with respect and you have to try not to turn this into an argument, but rather turn it into a conversation. So when approaching this, you have to be very factual because they will try and have an emotional advantage over you, especially if they use the "we're a team" card. But your biggest advantages are you're not legally obligated to comply and you have reason by your side. You have to point out the fallacies in their argument with facts. But I understand it's very hard to say no to unpaid overtime, especially when you're new in the industry and you're afraid of being fired instantly, which isn't something that they can legally do because you didn't do unpaid overtime, because unpaid overtime is illegal by itself. But I understand the fear. And if you're in a place where they force unpaid overtime on you, well, that's not a place you want to be working at anyways. It's also a lot harder to say no when you're not in a place financially where you can afford to lose a job. So that should be something else that you're constantly working towards, financially educating yourself. I did just create a playlist on financial education. I only have, I think, 2 videos there now, 2 or 3, but I will be adding to that as time goes on. So do check that out if you want to get introduced to the whole financial education world. Okay, so here's one way you can respond. You can use your contract as a factual base to fall back on. So in our contract, we agreed on me doing 8 hours of work a day. And today I feel like I put in a good 8 hours where I was very productive, got as many tasks done as I could, and I give it a good 8 hours as we agreed. Are you going back on our agreement? Again, you want to make sure your tone isn't aggressive, you're putting on a smile, and that way you're setting the tone for the rest of the conversation, because if you start responding in a hostile way, they'll match your energy, and then at that point the conversation's already lost. Okay, so let's say they respond with, "Well, Brian, we have a lot of work to do," in which case you can say, "I know, I'm excited to tackle all that work tomorrow morning." We've done it, we've got them to the point, if they're still persisting, we've got them to the point where they drop the team card. "But Brian, little Timmy over there is working till 11 p.m. Aren't you part of the team? I thought we're all in this together." Shameless, absolutely shameless. Shameless, shameless, shameless. Okay, so this is their trump card. This is them trying to guilt trip you into doing something that's morally not right, and they know it, but they still try and manipulate you into staying by throwing in a guilt card. Okay, so you can respond with, "Of course I'm part of the team. I just put in 8 solid hours of work." Okay, how about this? I might be able to put in a few more extra hours today. Not a guarantee, but I have to call and cancel a few other obligations I have outside of work. But I would need to be compensated on that lost time. Are you okay paying for that extra work? So now you've turned the question back on them. You're letting them know that you have obligations outside of work. Work isn't your life. and for you to have to stay longer, you have to cancel other plans, and that's time lost on your part. And he or she would have to pay for that lost time, and your time isn't free. Okay, at this point, hopefully they've said, okay, fine, I'll pay you for that extra time. Or if they say no, then that's it. You can just say, oh, okay, well, unfortunately, I can't work for free since that would technically be illegal, I'm pretty sure. And as I mentioned before, I have other obligations that I have to get to after work. So I will see you bright and early. Have a good night, Random Manager 69. And boom, shaka boom, you got yourself out of unpaid OT work from a persistent manager. Once again, it's key to watch your tone throughout this entire conversation. I know it's very hard to keep your emotions in check and keep your tone in check, keep your facial features in check and facial emotion while you're in a confrontational situation like this. But I feel like that comes from fear, and a lot of fear actually comes from not having a financial nest egg and being afraid of that person firing you. Once you don't have that fear of them firing you, where even if they fire you, you'll be okay, you'll just find another job. You'll have a way easier time going toe-to-toe with manipulating managers. Alrighty, one last time, if you're interested in Blender and learning Blender as an animator, or you want to be an animator and you want to create your very first demo reel, you can check out our website for more information. If it tickles your fancy, you can subscribe and you'll be receiving monthly newsletters on updates on the course, as well as a monthly animation tip. And when the course releases, where you'll be able to get it for like half the price when it comes out at first. You didn't hear it from me. I hope you learned something this video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, hit the sub button, stay notified of future animation videos. And if you experience something like this yourself and like to share your experience, you can leave a comment down below. I want to give a huge thank you to my Patreons. Thank you guys so much for your continuous support of the channel. And with all that out of the way, happy animating. I will see you guys in the next video.